Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to FF episode 2325, 2325.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's Mike Matthews, the last possible podcast that we did for you. Had some cool guests, and we did do a little homage to AC/DC and other bands and talked about grocery stores. And guess what? I finally went to Costco yesterday. It was really busy.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm obsessed with Costco. That's my plug. Here's my slug. Sometimes
Mike's
it gets a little busy.
Daily
Although yesterday,
Podcast.
though it was busy,
Yeah!
things moved pretty quickly. I got there late, about 7. And I'm walking around and I'm picking up items. And here's what I find that, because you know what I'm talking about. Costco is insane. It's huge. You push around a huge cart. There are people with other huge carts, and if they are Californians, they don't know how to drive. Witness exactly what happened a week ago on the Deluge Sunday when we got all that rain from that atmospheric river. Thank you, atmospheric river. A friend of mine said, isn't it just funny how Californians, we conserve water. Our governor yells at us, conserve more water. And then we get so much water dumped on us by Mother Nature. It's almost like she's saying, ha ha ha, so much for that. This is my little joke on you, you Californian. Anyways, Cafe Anyways. Oh, thank you for joining me here at Cafe Anyways, somewhere in Podcastro Valley 10, the last place on earth. My plan is to go to a haunted house this evening, the eve before All Hallows Eve.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Looking forward to that. The podcast picture is of something rather spooky. I hate the word spooky. It's often used by people that don't know how to say the word scary. But it is spooky. It is of some skeletons riding a ride at Six Flags Over Texas when I was there recently. They did a little tribute to some of the rides that are gone now there, that ended, the defunct rides, so that they can put all those DC Comics rides in there. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a fan of any. That's right, Basil. That's exactly, no, you took the words out of my mouth, Basil the Boxer. The late, great Basil the Boxer. I really am not a fan of Six Flags amusement parks in general because their rides make me feel sick. They are too violent. They thrash you around. I just get awful stomach pains after rides. And then the lines. And we went on Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, and it was so packed. Is there another name for Columbus Day that I missed? I didn't even know that day always comes and goes, and I pay no attention to it. I don't get the day off. It's superfluous to me. But other people go, and then there's always a controversy. We should just call it Controversy Day. But then we would think it was the day that the Prince album was released, but I don't think that's when it was. At any rate, the thing with the skeletons, this is all the past rides they used to have at Six Flags Over Texas, and they do like a little graveyard for it. And you can see the picture at mikesdailypodcast.com, the podcast picture today. And I was there about half a month ago. But yes, in the Costco, it is so busy, like it is here at Cafe Anyway at the moment. But yet, when it is busy, we somehow are able to keep moving along unless everybody is... Oh, but that's the thing. They don't have the free samples anymore. Or not at the ones here in the Bay Area. So, it is much easier to get through the Costco these days. But what I do is, and this is my tip to you, is I do a visualization beforehand, before I even go into the store. let's say I'm on my walk or something, and I'll go, I want to do Costco tomorrow. Here's what I have to. Oh, and by the way, whenever I try to go to Costco, a million things pop up. I was supposed to go Thursday. You heard Ken and I talking about that. What happens? A fellow coworker, he decides to have his birthday on Thursday, and then he asked me, Mike, can you do my job for me when I go to my birthday? And I go, okay, sure, because I'm the nicest guy on the planet. So, therefore, in order to have this gentleman have a wonderful birthday, I did his job, and then I left late, and thus I could not go to the Costco. But I did on Friday. That's why I did not do a podcast for you that day either. And that was because I was shopping, and I'm happy because I found a part of the parking lot that nobody else knows about. Even at the busiest Costco in the world, the one in Fremont, California, I found a little spot that there's like hardly anybody remembers that it's there. And partly they don't park there because it's too far away from the entrance, which I don't care because I need my steps. So I park there and I walk all the way in. And, I did the visualization, so I'm already in my mind. I know where I'm going to go, and I take care of that, and I put the notes in my phone, even though I can't stand that. It's funny because G-Zennials, millennials, everybody younger than me is using the notepad in their phones. And I can't stand it because, I got that thing in my phone where it turns off after a while and goes back to the lock screen. And I'm constantly like turning it back on and going, what was that other thing I had to get? What's it? Whereas a piece of paper doesn't do that. So that's why I'm old school with the piece of paper. But still, I saw recently Lorde and David Byrne interviewing each other. And how bad do you think Lorde is at Olivia Rodrigo right about now? She's taking a lot of her sound. In my ear, it sounds like Olivia Rodrigo is trying to be Lorde, and she's getting a lot more success than Lorde. But Mike, Lorde had all those albums that were hit albums, and she had all those hit songs. She had one. She had the Royals, and then she had the Team, right? And then there was the next album that had the Green Light song. I like that one, but not like Olivia Rodrigo is having this tremendous success. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcast Reno Valley 10. Olivia Rodrigo, yeah. And she kind of sounds like Lorde, and she's doing a lot of the introspective young lady thinking, songwriting. That's fascinating. That all hails back to the amazing Joni Mitchell when she was so young and writing songs in the 60s and 70s. And Lorde actually mentions her as well in the interview with David Byrne. But all her questions were written in her phone as she's interviewing David Byrne. And David Byrne's questions, of course, are all written on legal paper. And it was a great thing. I think it's somewhere on the Rolling Stone website. But the thing is that when you go into a Costco, you are going to find a lot of people, and it's good to have a game plan and get in, get out. And that was my point for that. And use your notepad in your phone. But if you are so savvy and smart. Wow. Wowie, wow. There was so much. So Hillary Clinton has written a book, co-authored a book with a famous author. And it's from the excerpts I've heard, and I've heard excerpts read not by conservative talk show hosts, but by liberals. And I've been hearing these on NPR, and yes, NPR, where anything you hear said on NPR was written out ahead of time And the interviewers do this when they are so, I can't stand this. Like they'll be interviewing someone and someone will drop a bombshell and they just go, uh-huh. And then they go to the next question. They don't follow up. I can't stand the interviewing tech. It's just so detached. But Mike, that's journalism. You have to be detached in journalism world. Well, you know what? What about human world? What about like when you're talking to someone and you're having the give and take of conversation? That's where we learn so much. The give and take. And what you're telling me, if I listen to you, you listen to me, back and forth, we're going to be educated. We're going to learn a lot of stuff. And I just don't think they do that so much on the NPR because everything is written out and everything's set for time. I understand that. But so what I heard an excerpt from the Hillary Clinton book, and there's apparently this one passage where she meets someone that's obviously Trump, but she doesn't call him Trump. But she meets him and says something like, something strong in his face type of, I'm gonna do this, and he's standing up to him. And she goes, and his breath smelled like meat. Obviously Trump's breath smells like meat. The guy loves burgers and probably eats a steak every night. That does not have the healthiest lifestyle, I'm sure. Which, by the way, there's someone I know who is a conservative who also eats way too much meat. I'm sorry. You gotta put some vegetables on that plate and put some fruit and scale back the protein, my friend. Your body's gonna revolt. And this guy I know, he gets food poisoning all the time, which I can't stand because he works for me and then I have to go in and fill in for him, and that sucks because I gotta be at work at 5 a.m. That's no fun for Mike. So my point is, put some vegetables on that plate. Put some greens. Enjoy. If you find greens repulsive, there's something wrong with you and you got to reprogram yourself. That's a learned behavior. We as human beings have to have greens or we will die a very bad cholesterol-laden, heart attack, diabetes life. It will come up and get you. If you don't believe me, do a little research. You'll see I'm right, and I'm not going to do it for you. You do it yourself because I think the majority of people listening to this would agree. So here's the thing, though, is Hillary Clinton thinks Trump's got meat breath. I don't know if she's actually met. Well, she has met him. And they were standing together, not this inauguration, because, of course, Trump didn't go to that inauguration because he lost. But boo-hoo, I'm not going to inauguration because I lost the election. Mike, that's not nice. No, it's true. The first president in my lifetime that said, nope, I'm not going to the inauguration because I lost. It was unfair. Okay, back to... So Hillary was there, though, when he won. Of course, he's going to attend an inauguration that he wins. And she was there, and I'm sure he smelled his meat breath. Okay, here's the thing. That's pretty funny. I'm not going to read this book, but it's also pretty like, wow, Hillary. Gloves off. The point is, experts are saying masks are safe and effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19. And you may say, oh, Mike, oh, Mikey-de Mike, I disagree with you because I know better and I am a scientist. And so you can't tell me this and you can't say that. And okay, I just got sent I can't open this story because... Oh, that's why. Oh, somebody sent me a link and it was a link from Twitter. And then I had to open my Twitter on my phone and it messed everything up. So I have to do a quick thing here.
Later that day.
Yeah, that wasn't letting me. Okay, where were we? Yeah, so happy birthday to you. If it's your birthday today, and as a birthday present, to you. I will work the end of your shift because that's what I do. The U.S. Center for Disease Control recommends that people who are not fully vaccinated continue to wear masks and maintain a physical distance in indoor settings and in crowded outdoor settings. The health agency also advises that fully vaccinated individuals resume wearing masks indoors in parts of the country experiencing spikes in COVID-19 transmissions. Masks are safe and effective at preventing the spread of COVID-19, according to health officials and fact checkers. The CDC updated its guidance on July 27th to recommend that fully vaccinated people in areas of substantial or high transmission wear masks while indoors. The health agency also recommended that everyone in K-12 schools wear masks regardless of vaccination status. Cloth, filter, and N95 masks reduce transmission of COVID-19 when worn correctly. Now, it reduces, okay? It may not completely stop you from getting it completely, but it reduces. And that's, with the disease like that, you don't want to catch it. Face masks do not cause hypoxia or bacterial pneumonia, according to fact checkers. And this is from the CDC. The Delta says the Delta variant surging in the U.S. New data show that Delta is much more contagious than previous versions of COVID-19. And there you go. Now, this is all stuff you've heard before, I'm sure. But yes, they are safe to wear. And there's a firecracker ban. What? A firecracker ban? The annual debate about the use of firecrackers around this time, deteriorating air quality, has already been a major issue for cities. Oh, this is in India. I see. Okay. And I think we're pretty much going to wrap up the podcast today. Just wanted to make sure that you wore a mask. Now, you might say, Mike, don't tell me what to do, and I will tell you, fine. When I am outdoors and there's nobody around, I will take the mask off. Wait, well, if there are people around, if they're not like within 6 feet, I'll still keep the mask off. But here's one more interesting thing, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Get away from that coronavirus topic, which is oh so controversial. Like the day that I mentioned earlier that I always forget. And that is the day that I was at the Six Flags over Texas. And very few people at that amusement park were wearing a mask. But some were. I was surprised. Sleeping less than 6 hours a night does to your brain. A blissful slumber has always eluded most of us. Our sleep has taken quite the battering over 18 months of restrictions. The stress of the pandemic has led to some to experience sleep difficulties dubbed coronasomnia. And 1 hour of sleep just 1 hour's change. In other words, if you sleep in an extra hour, it can be enough to throw our internal clocks out of sync. Kind of like, what do you call it? The jet lag, when you're suddenly in a new time zone and you got to adjust. So, studies that warn of the dangers to long-term brain health, increased risk of Alzheimer's, heart problems, and life expectancy that published in the Journal of Science shows sleep protects the brain against those things I just mentioned. The brain produces toxins that accumulate which is associated with neurocognitive decline. When we sleep, not only does the brain stop producing these toxins, but it also produces a cerebral fluid, which, in essence, pressure washes the brain to remove the toxins that have built up. This, according to the Telegraph, in England. There is one very interesting study that has looked at rhinovirus. The researchers found that those who are sleep deprived had more than a 2-fold greater risk of colds and flus. In those who are vaccinated, we see an increased development of antibodies to combat the viral pathogen. That's accelerated when you couple vaccine appointments with healthy sleep duration. So we need to set bedtime routines to help us with that. And there you go. Well, that was fascinating, wasn't it? Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valentino, the last place on earth. Look who's here. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How's you doing?
That's a disgruntled fiddle player. Tell you what.
What?
You were talking about a lot of different things. I got a little confused, but in the end, I think I'm educated by listening to this podcast. But I disagree about all the mass stuff. It's like a flood hitting a chain link fence.
Yes. Thank you, Disgruntled Fiddle Player. I'll tell you what.
What?
Ha-ha! Never done that before. Look who else is here.
Oh, Mike, I make the delicious root beer. Has some.
Did you know, Brewmaster, as I drink your delicious root beer, oh, it's pumpkin flavored in time for Halloween. I wonder if we're going to do a haunted cafe tomorrow in honor of Halloween. You'll have to check back here to find out. But yes, Billy Joel. Oh, by the way, my lovely lady friend and I started watching this show called the Bleckley Circle or something like that. The Bleckley Circle. It's on Amazon Prime. It's terrible. It's done by BritBox, and it's obviously England trying to make it look like it's San Francisco, and they're using all the CGI and all this stuff. It's terrible. It's supposed to be the 1950s. Don't watch it. Oh, it's a nice attempt at being innovative and different and involving actors from America and England, but they're mostly English actors trying to do American accents, and it sounds terrible. Just saying. And they get San Francisco all wrong, and it's just ridiculous. That's my 5-second review, maybe 35-second review. But there you go. So yes, if you are, what were you doing?
Mike, you were drinking my delicious root beer. Oh, my.
Yes, I was. And it ended up tasting a little bit like the pumpkin, and that's because of the Halloween. And then we had the thing about the,
Later that day.
now I remember. Billy Joel wrote a song, We Didn't Start the Fire. He wrote it while he was talking to John Lennon's son, Sean Lennon, and explaining to him how so many things that were going on in 1989 reminded him of stuff that had happened in 1959 and 69, and he was saying to Sean all this stuff. And as he's listing off all the things, he's like, hey, that could be a song. But there's a podcast that's all about how awful that song is. So Billy Joel's like, you know what? All this criticism, and they mainly criticize the music behind the song. And Billy Joel's like, well, you know, I wrote the lyrics before I wrote the song, so it may not be the most complicated, awe-inspiring song musically, but remember, I wrote the lyrics first. Oh, and it was produced by Mick Jones. And Mick Jones from Foreigner. And Mick Jones produced another album. I found this out recently. And he has this style that is enjoyable in my ear, or it was back in the 80s when he was the hot producer of the moment. But Mick Jones is not the guy that sings in Foreigner. That's Lou Gramm. But he was an instrumental part of the band Foreigner. So he got hired to produce a lot. Oh, that's right. He produced the first Van Hagar album, 5150, when Sammy Hagar took over for David Lee Roth. And what's up with David Lee Roth? He's not doing well, huh? This is what I have heard, is that he's done with the touring. It's a tough life, those rock stars. So, but apparently Billy Joel is going to be performing in Vegas for a while, I guess for quite a few dates in Vegas next year. So good news for those of you Billy Joel fans. Oh, and for those of you who like music by Billy Joel and Van Halen and others from the 80s, tune into my show tomorrow morning. I'll be on the radio from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time, Halloween, and every Sunday. Tune in and join me. There's a link at my website, mikesdailypodcast.com. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Tell me what you think about anything we covered today. 336MM Daily, 3 plus 3 equals 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast will try to be, as long as I don't get interrupted by birthday boys and girls and the thing, that big shopping place. I forget the name of it, thankfully.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!